Hello everyone, my name is Adam Heat with the Navarre Family Center for Digital Scholarship at the University of Notre Dame, and if you have made it this far by going all the way through my SketchUp videos, congratulations! You should be really proud of yourself for having made it this far, especially if this is the first time you've ever used the tool. If you are coming to this video first because you are just looking into tidying up a model and getting it prepped for 3D printing, welcome, happy to have you. The model that we made of Villa Rotunda, we chunked this guy together, if you remember the process, for those of you that were following along, of a big centralized chunk. We have duplicated a bunch of porches. We have the overall molding around the sides. In order for us to 3D print this, we need to tidy this up. There's a whole lot of interior geometry. We have a bunch of different chunky parts that we need to deal with. And what I would like to do is to go ahead and unhide what we're actually looking at. These are the component parts of what we had built through that SketchUp workshop that, for those of you that follow along in the videos. What we need to do is to take all of these chunks, combine them together, and get them to be something like this, which is as clean as it can possibly get. There's no additional lines inside. I often refer to this as almost like a sandcastle mold of the building that we actually want to print. From the outside, these two look identical. From the inside, if we were to throw a section plane into this building, we would see that there's a whole lot of extra geometry that we can't have. There's too many additional lines, too many additional competing logic statements for the printer to figure out. And this is what I mean when I say that. We had at one point earlier on started working monochromatically. That was this little button up here. And monochromatically is whites and grays if you're using the default look to SketchUp. So I'll make this guy a group and then I'll combine them. I'll move them again and then we'll overlay a couple of these geometries. And what those colors tell SketchUp and will tell the 3D printer is what's on the inside and what's on the outside of your model. Keep in mind, if we send this to the printer is not going to say, oh, that's the model of a building, or that's the model of a cell, or that's a gear. The building just actually looks at the mesh that we send it, the overall kind of geometric skins that we made, and is looking for inside of the shape and outside of the shape. Now, white is the outside of the shape. So when we fill in our model, the 3D printer will fill in inside of these cubes. And it won't put any plastic or extrude any filament on the outside of these cubes. But what I want you to do is take a look what happens inside if we just hide one of these walls. So if we look inside of this cube, there are areas in here where we're giving contradictory information to the printer. Right where my mouse is now, certainly where my mouse is now, that's the outside of everything. It's not going to print anything there. But if right where my mouse is now, this face, the floor of this cube and the left side of this cube are saying, hey, this area is the inside of this cube. Go ahead and fill this in with plastic. Now, this face on this other cube is saying, hey, out here to my left or in front of me, that's the outside of a shape. So don't put any plastic there. So just these two cubes combined are already starting to present contradictory information to our printer. Every time we're giving our printer contradictory information to overcome, we're providing the opportunity for an error. So what we want to do is get in the habit of, if you recall, I mentioned these solid tools that we can use. We want to get to the stage where we can use these solid tools to combine our geometric shapes so that when we look at our exterior skin, there's no contradictory information on the inside. So everything in here is telling the printer, this is the inside, fill this with filament. This is the outside, don't put any filament there. Now, that example seems rather simplistic, but it's the same process that we're going to deal with when we look at these larger files. So here's our big model, and here are the shapes that our big model is dealing with. Some of these, if we were to float over our solid tools, that guy's, it's because I've grouped them together. So let me explode that group. So these are all our individual chunks that we have made while we've been modeling. And if we just click on the solid tools and float over them, they'll highlight if they're ready to go. So some of these are clean. Our porch is clean. That's clean. This column is. This column is not. Our main massing is not. So we need to figure out why. So let's take a look at the inside of this massing. Some of this we can do just by manually looking for problems. Some of it we might need to use some additional plugins that we can install, and we'll talk about going through those. So let's try to see if we can figure out why this guy is not a solid. So if we right click and say Edit Group, it seems like everything's okay. Let's take a look and see what we can find inside. If we look inside, seems okay. So if you look inside, we have this extra line right here. This extra line, we need to tidy that out. So those are straight lines. Let's go and see what it says now that we've got that guy out of there. And right now that guy's tidy. So just that one line is going to keep SketchUp from recognizing that that's a shape that we can use as a solid with our solid tools. Let's take a look here what we've got with these columns. Keep in mind these columns, this one's fine, so this is what we're going for. This one's not fine. So let's see what's going on with this guy. If we go to Edit Group, let's see if, okay, that top rectangle is good to go. The bottom rectangle is good to go. This middle shaft of our column is not, nor is the capital. So let's take a look at the capital. And right now we're going to go View, Component Edit, Hide Rest of Model. That gives us the opportunity to see what we're doing a little better. And right away I can see I left a couple of extra lines here. So let me delete those out. Let me delete those out. Let's take a look at the back, see if we see anything glaringly obvious. Nothing. So if we come back out of it, great, these guys are good to go. So I'm going to combine this one and this one, and we're all set. Now our column, the shaft of our column still says it's not ready to fill, or it's not a solid yet. So if we take a look, see if we see any extra lines, and if we take a look at the bottom, we have a hole in the bottom. So we need to close that up. And we're going to close that up by just trying to draw all the way across from one endpoint to another endpoint. And now we don't need that line anymore. So let's see if that was what was wrong. If we use our solid tools, yep. So that's what it was looking for. We had a hole in the bottom of our column. So we can combine all of these. Now if we take a look at this column that we have, let's use our solid tools, and that guy's ready to go. This one's not. So what we have is a situation where this one, if we right click and say Edit Group, what we wanted to have seen is Edit Component. Remember way back when we made a group versus component analysis, if we change a component, we change all of the components. So if we had made this a component at the beginning, all of them would have been fixed by fixing just this one. But since we already know we have one that we like, we can delete these guys. Let's take the one that we do like, that we know is ready to go. Let's move it off to the side. Let's get rid of these. And we know we can go ahead and copy this guy. And we know we added 6 of them. So we're all set. So now we have columns that are solids that we can combine with our porch. So let's go ahead and grab those guys. Let's move them on into place. Let's combine those columns together as one big group. And then we'll combine those columns with the porch. Now that those columns are combined with the porch, we can go ahead and add the staircases on in. So add the staircases onto the porch. And we're just going to do the exact same thing. We're going to work our way all the way around, one chunk at a time, until we have all of our files combined into one big, solid, clean mass. And at this stage, we can take this guy. I'll delete the section plane that we're using. This guy is ready to send to the 3D printer. We would just go File, Export, the 3D model, and we'd export it as an STL file. And we'd be all set to go. So I hope that helps understanding the distinction between whether files are ready to send to a 3D printer, ways that we can go ahead and get things tidied up, how we can look for those kind of red flags and take it step by step, looking at our component parts, combining them into one solid file, and then sending them to the 3D printer to maximize all of the efforts that we just put in to learning SketchUp. So thank you very much for your time. I hope you had a little bit of an enjoyable time watching the videos. I hope you've learned a lot. Feel free to watch them again. Feel free to reach out to me. Once again, my name is Adam Heat with the Newberry Family Center for Digital Scholarship at the University of Notre Dame. And thank you very much for your time.